Tony Ferguson is not going to be retiring after losing to Bobby Green with 6 seconds left in round number 3 with an arm triangle choke submission after losing round number 1 and round number 2. He's currently 39 and a half years old, probably going to be 40 years old by the time he fights next, and he's not going to retire. We have a quote from him on his Instagram. As the fight began, I was in the X zone, flowing and feeling confident. Bobby knew the direction of the fight, and I believe he knew what he was going to do when he poked me in the eye. He has a big history of moves like this. It significantly impaired my vision, making it difficult to see clearly out of my eye. Despite this eye poke, I never considered stopping the fight. Although the doctor wanted to, throughout my career, I've always pushed through the challenges and never given up. This time was no different. Unfortunately, in sports, setbacks are like this are part of the journey. While I won't use the eye poke as an excuse for the outcome, I know for a fact I have more to give. Moving forward, I plan to be working closely with Dana White, Hunter Campbell, and my entire team to assess what is next. And this is what I think should be next. No. I got other suggestions. It's not just this. If Tony's not going to retire, which I do believe he should, who else is there? We got Jim Miller. This is one of my options for a fight for Tony Ferguson at UFC 300 in the UFC lightweight division. That'd be a legend versus legend fight in the UFC lightweight division. And he's been fighting those type of guys recently. Gaethje, Oliveira, Dariush, Chandler, Diaz, Green. These are all veterans and legends of the lightweight division. Even before that, beating some veterans as well, like Dos Anjos, Anthony Pettis, and Donald Cerrone. Now, if we check out the UFC lightweight rankings and we go down to here, we do have guys like Clay Guida at number 46. That could make sense. This is a legend of the game that has been fighting for so long now, beating the who's who of the UFC lightweight division and also losing to the who's who of the lightweight division. We got Jim Miller, like I was saying, at number 39 on the UFC Tapology lightweight rankings. I think that one could also definitely make some sense. He's been losing to decent guys as well, like Anthony Hernandez, Joe Solecki, and Vince Pichel. I still believe a Tony Ferguson fight would be relatively competitive there. Clay Guida, that would be relatively competitive with Tony Ferguson. And the last one I did suggest was this one right here. Another option is the Menace Michael Johnson fight in the UFC lightweight division. This was one of the guys that beat Tony like right before that huge win streak that Tony went on back in 2012. A unanimous decision on the prelims of a UFC fight night with, oh my gosh, 2 Ferguson opponents in Nate Diaz and Jim Miller also on that card. But Tony lost that fight so long ago after going like 3-0 in the UFC, lost to Michael Johnson in 2012 and just went on the craziest streak of wins over and over again until the, 6-fight losing streak that he went on. So again, a Michael Johnson fight I do believe does make some sense. A Clay Guida one would make some sense. And then a Jim Miller one would also definitely make some sense in the UFC lightweight division. If you're checking it out, guys, outside of that top 50, there's really not a lot of like veterans in the UFC lightweight division I'd be too happy to put against Tony Ferguson. Even the up-and-comers, I wouldn't really agree that any of them should be taking on Tony Ferguson in the UFC lightweight division. So I think it comes down to those 3 guys. I'm looking. I don't really see anyone. Maybe a groovy Lando Venado would be a fun fight. But personally, I think it comes down to those 3 in either Michael Johnson, Clay Guida, or Jim Miller next in the UFC lightweight division. What do y'all think? Who should Jim Miller fight? Who should Tony Ferguson fight? What are the fights to make for the legends of the lightweight division?